transition from childhood to adolescence, we have been told by people that we must learn to become successful and independent people. But by whose standards are we to be viewed as successful people? We're always asking ourselves, how can we get to where we want to be in life? And for most people, the answer to this question is the same: money. For some people, money is what motivates them to get out of bed in the morning. It encourages people to work their hardest so that they can buy a home so they can then raise their children to construct their lives in a similar manner. Money is something that has done a great deal for the human race. It allows hardworking people to be able to provide for themselves and their families when they go to the grocery store to buy food and other essentials. While it's nice to be able to walk 5 minutes down the road to buy food, water, and other basic necessities, money gives the impression that we can survive without any sort of connection to nature. It promotes the idea that we can be completely independent in life so long as we have a green piece of paper that can bring us anything and everything we desire. It reduces the number of relationships we share with people. Some people don't even go to the grocery store anymore. Instead, they send someone to pick up their groceries for them. But because we don't see the immediate effects of our purchasing power, doesn't mean that they aren't causing any problems. Environmental destruction, resource wars, factory farms, and sweatshop labor are just a few of the major issues that being purposely hidden behind a curtain set up by major corporations. And these problems aren't going to go away anytime soon, as long as we continue to give these corporations a demand for their supply. Many people overlook the concept of independence. True independence is not something that any human being can come moderately close to. At the most fundamental levels, we are reliant upon the offerings found freely in nature. For example, the birds and the bees are two animals that we rely on greatly for our food source. They pollinate at least 30% of the world's crops and 90% of our wild plants. Money will only continue to separate the human population into groups of haves and have-nots until the world has become completely depleted of its natural resources. If we all learned to survive in the wilderness and slowly began to localize into smaller groups, maybe 150 or so, who work together to benefit the community, then we can all learn. Then we can live a truly free lifestyle and be the change we wish to see. Before we started using money, people put their trust in the earth and each other to survive. The economic system we have in place today gives way to a domino effect that is destroying many people's lives and many of the Earth's ecosystems. People in countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Indonesia are working in sweatshops on an hourly wage that ranges between 13 and 34 cents in American currency, just so that they can feed their families. For example, the drainage of our planet's natural resources is increasing at an accelerated rate that could lead to dire consequences. For example, phosphorus is an element found in the soil. Without it, plants cannot grow. With the need to feed 7 billion people, scientists from the Global Phosphorus Research Initiative predict we could run out of phosphorus in 50 to 100 years unless new reserves of the element are found. Technology has always been something important for survival, but in our pursuit to have the best technology and more money than anyone else, we have lost sight of what is truly important in our lives. Removing ourselves from this economic and technological way of living will make our stay on this earth much more thought out and less problematic. Though you might have to make some sacrifices, living in the wilderness has its benefits. Your focus will shift from learning how to make informed decisions at your job to learning things like survival skills, methods of purifying water, and how to grow your own food or foraging food sources. Creatively engineering technology to suit your standard of living and the climate in which you live in will require a great deal of work. But instead of seeing it as another expense out of your pocket, it will be viewed as a fun family project. Many people would argue that living in urbanized areas is safer and you would be less vulnerable to the dangerous elements. To these people, I would respond by saying that living in the wilderness will strengthen you mentally, physically, and emotionally. not to mention how much healthier you will feel when you separate yourself from the numerous LCD screens we surround ourselves with. Also, once you become more suited to living outdoors, you will have much more free time to spend building relationships, exploring the outdoors, and learning about things that interest you. In short, if we continue going down this path we're on, we will only make it harder for future generations to survive. I think that there are right and wrong ways to go about stabilizing the foundations of your household. And if we have the time and energy to truly reflect upon our values in solitude and look within ourselves, only then can we make this world into one that we know in our hearts